What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ravi Wadden, and in today's video, I want to talk about whether you should lease or buy a Rivian R1S. So I get this question a lot because I do a lot of car leasing versus car financing videos, and one of my, the biggest requests I get is the Rivian R1S. So in this video, what we'll do is we'll head over to Rivian's website. We'll kind of go over the lease program in detail. We'll talk about the mileage allowance. We'll talk about how long the lease is. We'll talk about the buyout amount. We'll talk about taxes, fees, and some hidden fees that you may not be considering. And then in the second part of this video, what we'll do is we'll run my 1.25% rule of leasing on the Rivian. And my 1.25% rule of leasing is just a value metric to determine whether or not a particular lease is a good lease deal in terms of value. And then in the third part of this video, what we'll do is we'll compare the monthly lease payments to the monthly finance payments, and I'll show you why leasing this Rivian R1S or leasing a Rivian R1S is the better financial decision. So if that sounds good to you, please be sure to like this video and please be sure to follow. But with that, let's go ahead and jump into the computer behind me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here I am on the Rivian website and I'm on the R1S homepage. And as you can see here, it says now leasing from $799 a month. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and click on buy, and then you have all of the various trims. You have the dual standard, you have the R1S dual, you have the R1S tri-motor, and then you have the quad motor, which is coming later this year. Now, for purposes of this video, what we're gonna do is we'll run numbers on the R1S dual. And if you want me to do a different trim in a different video, I'd be happy to do so. Just let me know in the comment section below. So let's go ahead and click on build. And that will take you to this page. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna kind of skip customizing the car, and I'm just going to scroll down to where it says shop similar builds. And this is just kind of an existing inventory that Rivian already has. So as you can see here, they have this Rivian R1S here, but it says different paint, different accents. That's fine with me. I'm just gonna go ahead and click on it. And now I have this car pulled up, and as you can see, the order price is $87,250. Now, the cool thing with Rivian is, much like Tesla, they have a payment calculator, embedded on the website. So I'll just click on the calculator logo, and I'll pull up the payment estimator. So as you can see here, on a 36-month loan that allows for 10,000 miles a year, assuming excellent credit, and a down payment of $6,500 and a total due at signing of $8,927, your monthly payment is going to be roughly $1,032 a month, with almost $9,000 due at signing. Now, one thing that you do need to consider here is that tax, title, and license is extra. So depending on where you live, your estimated due at signing isn't going to be $8,927. Here in the state of Washington and in Seattle, particularly where I live, you're probably looking at more like $11,000, another $2,000 on top of this, so probably near $11,000 as a total due at signing, because you'd have to pay taxes on rebates, and this car does include the $7,500 EV tax credit, so that's about $750, maybe another $1,000 for registration, and then let's just say another couple $100 just for miscellaneous items. So $2,000 at the very minimum. Now, what you'll see here is that this lease does allow for 30,000 miles, and you'll see that the amount due at signing includes a $7,000 capitalized cost reduction. It includes a $1,000 deposit. It includes the first month's payment of $895. It includes the acquisition fee, and there is no security deposit, and the acquisition fee is $895, as you can see right here. Now, another tip that I have for all of you watching is that if you know you drive more than 10,000 miles a year, just pay for that mileage up front. As you can see, you can get 12,000 miles, the payment goes up like $22, right? 15,000 miles, the payment goes to $1,097. If you paid for that mileage out of pocket at the end of the lease term in the form of a penalty, you'd pay a lot more. You'd pay about 30 cents a mile for excess mileage. So it's much cheaper to just get the 6,000 miles up front. As you can see, 6,000 miles only adds, $22 to the payment? Let me just double check this. Yeah, $22 to the payment. Now, in this part of the video, what I want to do is actually run my 1.25% rule of leasing on this Rivian R1S. Now, With this Rivian R1S, before we compare lease versus loan, with this Rivian R1S, what we're going to do is we'll take the $8,949 that's due at signing, and we'll subtract actually let's add $2,000 to that amount to account for things like tax, title, registration. And that gives us a total due at signing of $10,949. Now, I'm just trying to estimate things here to give you guys a very accurate number. We'll subtract the monthly payment of $1,054 from this amount since it's included in the due at signing amount. And that gives me $9,845. And if I divide this by 36, I get $274. Now, what I did is I just took that total due at signing amount and I divided it by 36 since it's a 36-month lease. And that gives me $274. And then I'll add the monthly payment of $1,054 back in. And that gives me a zero down monthly payment of $1,328. Now, this does not include sales tax. Most states, you have to pay sales tax on the payment. And here you're looking at about 10% where I live in Seattle. So I'll multiply this by 1.1 to account for 10% sales tax on the payment. And this gives me a zero down effective monthly payment of $1,461. So, if I were able to roll in all taxes, fees, registration, everything into the monthly payment, my monthly payment would be $1,461 with $0 down. Now, if I divide this by the MSRP on this Rivian, which is $87,250, which you can see right here, it's kind of hidden in the background. It gives me 0.0168. I'll multiply this by 100 to make it a percentage. And when you do that, you get 1.67%. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you run my 1.25% rule of leasing and you get a number over 1.5%, that typically isn't a good lease deal in terms of value. You're better off usually buying or financing that particular car. And anytime you get a number under 1.5%, that's a good deal in terms of value. And anytime you get a number under 1.25%, that's a great deal. And a number under 1% is an amazing lease deal in terms of value. And the reason I run this metric is because, two $50,000 cars can have very different lease payments. Just because two cars have the same MSRP doesn't mean they have the same lease payments. They could have different residual values. They could have different money factors. And, those are some key components. They could have different discounts, different rebates. And, this Rivian sitting at 1.67% is, on the higher side. This car was at 1.1% or 1.2% the last time I made a video on this car. And I think that was like 4 or 5 months ago. So sitting at 1.67% is not the best lease deal in terms of value, but I still think it's a better deal than financing this particular car because if you were to finance it, you're going to have to pay a lot more out of pocket and you wouldn't get the $7,500 EV tax credit. Now, as you can see here, with about $9,000 total due at signing, the payment is $1,054. And if you did a down payment, let's say the same $9,000 due at signing, your monthly payment is looking like $1,779. So it's a big difference, right? So maybe a $500, $600 difference. So over the term of 36 months, you're going to pay a lot more if you finance this car over leasing it. And even if you did 15,000 miles on the lease, your monthly payment's still going to be substantially lower than if you were to finance this particular car. And a big reason for that is because of the $7,500 EV tax credit. As you can see here, you get a $7,500 tax credit from Rivian when you lease this car, but when you buy this car does not qualify for the tax credit. And that makes a big difference, right? That makes about a $220 a month just from that tax credit. So, and then when you consider depreciation, I think the leasing is a better route to go because you know what your depreciation is going to be. And if for any reason you have positive equity at the end of the lease term, you can realize that positive equity. So my take would be to lease this vehicle, and then at the end of the lease term or during the lease term, you can buy this car if you want to keep it long term or if you have equity at the end of the lease term. But with that, I'm going to call it a video. So the Rivian R1S isn't as good of a lease deal as it was just 4 or 5 months ago, but I think leasing this car still makes sense compared to financing it. But in my honest opinion, there are better lease deals. There are much better lease deals out there. I think, if you really want a Rivian R1S, then I would go leasing it, but there are better values out there, right? So if you guys have any questions about leasing or about this Rivian, let me know in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Financial knowledge is power. Please like and follow for more.